Hello everyone and welcome to Dinky Toy Restorations, my channel for the sympathetic restoration of my favourite childhood toys. In this video I'm going to restore Dinky Toys Jaguar Mk.X. This was a much later model than I've usually been restoring, and it only ever had one number, and that's 142. In fact, I think it only had one colour, although there were probably some variations on the blue used, I guess. Anyway, this is it. It's rather nice. It's got a lot of fancy things on it, like an interior and a steering wheel and glazing. And I saw this really cheap on eBay, and I bought it. It's okay, except the boot lid was missing, and my fault, I didn't notice it on the listing or in the photographs. So my first thought was to get a replacement boot, a reproduction boot for that, but then I noticed there's a crack. It's only a hairline crack, but there is a crack in the back windscreen here, and also this should have steering and suspension, and it has the steering, but it's not really attached to anything. Whatever's producing the suspension has broken or come adrift. So, faced with the prospect of buying some reproduction parts, which are not that cheap, I decided to put this on one side, and I thought no more about it until one time I was searching for Dinkies on eBay, and I found another one, a pretty ropey one. It looks worse than it is actually, because so a lot of the red overpaint has been worn away. Nonetheless, I bought it because it had a boot, and not only does it have a boot, but it has a interior glazing component that is not cracked. It's got a bit of paint on it, but it's not cracked, and the suspension works. So what I'm going to do here is to strip all this down, and I'll restore it to the best I can using the best of each of the car's components. So quite an interesting one to do, I think. So let's get started. So the first job is to remove the base plate. This is just held in by one rivet, in fact, at the front here, but it's a domed rivet with no little dimple in it. So I'm going to use the little ball burring tool on my Dremel just to flatten down that so that I can go at it with the drill. That's made a little dimple in the tip of that, which should hold the drill firm while I drill out this rivet. Perfect. So in here we have front axle, and this is the thing that's supposed to be how the suspension works. Plastic interior looks perfectly sound, and there seems to be no rivet holding the glazing in. It's just held in by the interior, and it actually has Jaguar Mk.X written across the top there, and it has Jaguar Mk.X, not Mk.X, Jaguar Mk.X written across there as well. Everything is now fully stripped down, ready for cleaning and paint stripping. However, I've managed to find out how the suspension works. On this car it's intact, and it is this central piece here that's moulded into the chassis that actually holds the spring in place. It hasn't actually broken, it's just come detached from that central, and I've just snapped it back in. So now the suspension works. Now it's time to clean and strip the two Jaguar bodies. Hopefully they'll fit in. Top up with warm water to the max mark, and add a small amount of washing up liquid, just a couple of drops, and this will clean for 3 minutes. Okay, let's look at the result. Yep, no, that's fine. That's all cleaned up really well. Just dry that and then we can put it in the stripper. And now I'll clean the base plates and axles. You'll notice I've removed the spring plates because they're steel, and I don't want to trap water under here and add to the rust, so I've removed them while I clean the base plates. The last 3 minutes. I'll dry off these base plates and then choose which one is the best. But I think to strip them and paint them just for the sake of it is a little pointless. They won't be shown, and they do reflect the playware and the history of this toy. Well, that's pretty impressive again. Not all of the red is gone, but this looks in very good condition apart from the red paint. It's now going to be much easier to remove those final paint marks. This Eco 100 paint stripper has already stripped the paint off 5 bodies. So what I'm going to do is try another body, this time with the pair of Jaguars, and I'll strip this one because it has the overlay of red paint on it, but I'll put them one at a time in the stripper. Let's see what happens after 3 minutes. Here's the result of these two cars being put separately into the old paint stripper for 3 minutes each. But I'm surprised that there's still so much blue on here, whereas this one, which has not been overpainted, it was just play one, pretty much all the blue has come off, so interesting. Anyway, for some reason this one has stripped cleaner than that one in 3 minutes, So I'm going to put this one back. In fact, I'll put them both back. Oh, if I can get them both in. Yeah, there we are. So I'll give this another 3 minutes and then I'll leave it in here for half an hour because I'm just about finished for this session, so I might as well leave it a good half hour. So now both Jaguar bodies have been stripped of all the paint and cleaned with water. I'm now going to choose the best of these two bodies, and looking at them, this one looks sounder. There's a couple of minor dinks in this one, but this one looks quite good. And I've also test fitted the boot lid just to make sure that fits neatly into this body, which it does quite well. So that's the combination I'm going for. So this can go in the spares box, and I'm going to use a abrasive brush in my Dremel, and I'm going to get rid of some of the oxidization and just give this a general polish. There appears to be no faults that need repairing on this, so once this is done it'll be ready for priming. So there we are, that looks pretty good. A quick inspection showed that there's a little bit of flash in around the windows, not panel lines as such, but little imperfections, and I don't mind just taking these out a little with a file just to neaten up the apertures a little bit. Yep, just a small amount. That looks perfect. So that's now ready for priming and painting. So now I'm going to start the priming. I'm going to use Halford's Grey Primer, and I'm going to start on the inside. Now I don't usually strip the base plates of my Dinky Toys, but this base plate is a casting, and with the opening boot some of this base plate is visible through that, so I am going to replace the colour on this. So I have stripped this and I've masked off the rear wheels, and it will now get a coat of grey primer. Time now to spray the body its new colour. Steve Flowers, who produces the paints matched to Dinky Toys, doesn't do metallic paints. When I spoke to him, he suggested I go to Halford's and choose the nearest silver blue, and that I did, and I have bought Halford's Ford Metropolis Blue. That looks pretty good. I'll let that dry right off actually, because it's a little awkward to paint the interior, but I need the inside of the boot painted, so I'll let that dry off and spray the interior separately. Really pleased with that. Looks lovely. I'm using Steve Flowers Cloud Grey for the base plate. That looks really nice. Okay, I'm happy with that. We'll let that dry out. The body has been left a couple of days to fully harden out, and now I'll finish the details with some Humbrol number 11, which is a metallic silver, and this is to paint the bumpers and the headlights, etc. For this I shall use a number 1 artist brush. Working from reference photographs of original mint examples, I can hand paint the silver just as they would have been done back in the day, to make this look authentically of the period. Time now to clean up this rather rusty spring clip that is the suspension in this vehicle. So I'll hold this with some pliers, and using a wire brush I'll just clean this up. All I need to do now is to fit it in the chassis. The rear wheels and axles are there already, they are fixed in. The front axle goes there, and then the spring or the clip needs to be positioned, that's the wrong way around. That looks fine. Now I'm going to try and press that in position. Okay, it's not so easy to push over there, so I'm going to get a reaming tool and just try and open that up a little more. This is the hand reaming tool, and what I'm going to do is to hold it in my pliers and just try and open the hole . And then every now and again I'll test fit. Okay, that's it. I think you can see the suspension working. So I'm going to belt and braces, I'm going to put some araldite around that to hold that in position. There's one more little plate to fit in here, and that goes in a slot behind the rear seats. It just slots in like that, and make sure it has the little notches to the top. So what I'll do now is mix a little araldite, fix the mainspring in place, and I'll put a little drop in there just to hold that in position to make assembly that much easier. I'll just wet the tip of my finger with some epoxy thinner and just run it around there to smooth out the araldite. That should set really well. I shouldn't have any problem with that in the future. So I'll put that to one side to dry, and while that's drying I'll turn my attention to the glazing insert here. I've already started to clean off the few spots of red. I did it initially with my thumbnail and got quite a few off, but now I'm going to dress this down with a file, my nail buffing file. So this is the coarsest, and this will matte up the surface a little bit. And it'll take a little while to just get rid of those last few spots, okay, which I'll do off camera. So when I've done that, I'll go over it with number 2 and start to bring back some of the shine, and then give it a polish with number 3. And then when that's all done, I'm going to give this a coat of the clear floor polish, and that'll bring back the full shine. The glazing piece is now fully cleaned, and I shall apply some Johnson's Clear floor polish for the final sheen and shine on all the glass. Now that really restores the shine to the glazing piece. So, along with a new set of 14mm treaded tyres, the project is now ready for final assembly. And that's the restoration finished. Before I show the reveal, I would like to remind you what the Jaguar Mk.X looked like when I bought it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like and subscribe in the normal way. I am working on more restorations at the moment, so my next one will follow as soon as possible. See you next time.